Hey guys, this is Sawyer.
I'm Kiara.
And I'm Emily.
And I'm Dominique.
So, what the book is basically about, it's about it takes place in Deep South, Macomb in Alabama. There are many plots within the story, and basically the main plot is a man that is being accused of rape. So, the story is centered, like the main character is a girl, and her name's Scout. So she has a boy, brother, like of course his brother, but so she has a brother named Jeremy Finch, which is his nickname is Jim. So they go on like wild adventures, and they're basically, the story is about them maturing and they're losing their innocence. So the main theme in To Kill a Mockingbird is looking at human nature and its ethics as human beings. So it's basically our human ethics, and it looks at it at different points of view, and it determines if we're good or bad people.
So what are y'all personal opinions about this book?
Okay, so mine, it's a okay book. It wouldn't be my favorite book, but the weak points that I think was towards the beginning, because in my opinion, I thought it was kind of boring. And the awesome parts, I thought it was the trial, because that got intense. And the one thing that confused me was how Boo Radley was a mysterious character at the beginning, and then he was like the hero of the day at the end of the story. And the overall score I would rate it would probably be a 6.
That's a pretty good score. What I liked about the book was that it basically looks at society, and it makes it like, it tells us what is bad and what is good. So what I really liked about the book, my favorite part was when Boo Radley saved the day at the end. I really liked the trial. That was really intense. I really liked that part too. But what confused me was basically the flow of time in the book. It went by really quickly, I guess, as most books are, but I wish it was like a lot better, like the flow of time. But my overall score would be about an 8. It was a good book, and I would recommend it.
Well, to me, my favorite part was the trial. In the book, it really it focuses on like things that still affect our society today, like racism. So my favorite part was the trial. The trial, it was very, very intense, and if you pay close attention to it, you can tell that Tom Robinson actually wasn't guilty. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say it's a 5.
Well, my personal opinion about the book is the trial. The trial was intense, but I don't see how he got in trouble for something he didn't do. So it was kind of bad.
That's a valid point. That's a valid point right there.
Really. But I rate the book an 8 because it was interesting, but at the same time, you know, it had something to do with our thing, like our society today. Yeah.
Would you recommend it to anyone?
Maybe like an Arthur or 2.
Awesome. So the topics that we're discussing today are archetype,
Major characters,
minor character,
Flat character, round character,
dynamic characters,
static character,
diction,
conflict,
extended metaphor,
mood,
parallel plots.
setting,
style.
tone.
Okay, so basically characterization is present throughout the whole story because there were major, minor, flat, round, static, and dynamic characters. So obviously Scout, Jim, and Dill would be examples of dynamic and major characters as they change throughout the whole story as events happen. Most plots surround them, so that's why they would be considered a main character. Some of the minor characters in the story would be like Nathan Radley, Miss Mowdy, and little Bob Elo. So in the book, Bob Elo, I would say, would be a flat character because he doesn't change that much. His MO, his mode of operation, stays the same throughout the whole book. He's a drunk, and all he wants to do is like cause fights and start trouble. So in the book, I would say that Atticus, I would say he would be a major character as well because he plays a very important role in the whole book. Who is Nathan? Nathan, he's the guy that was related to Boo. Who's his older brother?
Okay, well, there are many conflicts in To Kill a Mockingbird. Some of the conflicts are minor, such as the conflict between Miss Maudie and Mr. Radley when they came to the argument about Miss Maudie's flowers. And the main conflict that's centered, that the whole story centers around is the Tom Robinson case. And the Tom Robinson case is Robinson case is when a black man was accused of raping a white girl, Mayella Ewell. And since this is a racist society, the white jury really doesn't care for Tom Robinson since he's black, so he ends up going to jail for something that he did not do, and everybody knows he didn't do it. Just because he's black, they had nothing to do with the black man.
Okay, next is mood. There are many different moods in the story, but the first mood I'm discussing today is sadness and frustration. Because during the trial, Tom Robinson, a black man, was being accused of raping a girl, but just thinking of that, he didn't actually rape her, he was just accused of it, makes me feel like horrible. And the second mood is a lot in humorous, like in the way that some of the characters, mostly the kids, aren't uptight, and they're really just laid back and saying, like, since they're from the deep south, their speech isn't the most grammatical. Yeah, and I feel that makes them seem more relaxed when they're talking and all.
That's a good point.
The setting takes place in Macomb, Alabama. With the main characters goes many places. Jim, Scout, and their best friend Dale travel all over Macomb. They go to Finch's house, Scott and Jim's house, Miss Maddie's house, Boo Riley's house, the school, and the all-black church with Calpurnia.
Calpurnia.
Oh, Calpurnia. That's a good name. Their cook in the courthouse, Miss Rachel's house, and Miss LaVey Duval's house.
Yeah, there were a lot of good settings in the book, and I believe that the town was overall developed pretty well.
Is Macomb even in?
I don't know. I think it's a fictional town. I think it is, but I think it may be based on a real town. I'm not sure. We may have to look that up later. So, in the book, the extended metaphor is the Mockingbird. In the beginning of the book, when Jem and Scout get guns, Atticus tells them to not kill mockingbirds, as they don't do any sins. All they do is sing, and it brings joy to humans. So this is linked to the case of Tom Robinson. In the book, Tom Robinson is a mockingbird, and when he dies, Bob Ewell is punished for the sin and is killed by Boo Radley.
Well, the next word is diction. Diction is basically the word choices that were made in the book. They say ain't a lot in the book, mostly because they're in the South. People in the South tend to say ain't more than the people in the North. And then instead of saying words that end in ing, they ended in in, like going instead of going, and like reading instead of reading.
Over yonder.
Yeah.
So basically country, right?
Yeah, like they talk very country.
I deal with like a lot of that up in the mountains. It's really funny.
Okay, so up next is the parallel plots. The parallel plots in the story are Tom Robinson trial and the family dynamics of the families in Macomb, the romance between Scout and Dill, and the Boo Radley plot. The most important parallel plot is the Tom Robinson case. It's the most important because it's the title of the story, and when you read the title of the story, you think that it's about a bunch of hunters and like birds, and it's actually not. In this case, the Tom Robinson, he's actually the Mockingbird, and it's meaning how everyone who was responsible for Tom Robinson's death, he just made all the jurors on his case sinners. Bob Ewell, Mayella Ewell, and the judge who convicted him of his crime sinners.
So how do you make that connection with Tom Robinson being the Mockingbird?
Well, so at the beginning, like it talks about like to not kill a mockingbird, and in the book, Tom Robinson, he doesn't do anything bad. He didn't do anything bad. He was set up by Mayella and her dad, and he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't hurt anyone, kind of like a mockingbird. all he did was give good to the world, I guess you would say. But he was killed anyway by basically you would say he was killed by Bob because he put him in that position to get killed. So it was Bob Ewald that sinned because he put him in that position. So Tom Robinson didn't do anything bad, so that's why we would call him a Mockingbird.
So what was he accused for?
He was accused of raping male.
Okay. Archetype can be found in many stories in many ways. One archetype can be Bob Ewell as a drunk. He beats up his daughter and causes trouble and threatens people. This is how people are portrayed as drunks in many books, TV shows, and even in real life. Other archetypes we found was Boo Riley. He was portrayed a monster until the end when he shows himself, and we all saw that he was a good person by saving Jim and Scout. And the only reason why he hid was because he didn't like the many ways of the people in Macomb.
I know, I think that's just horrible. Boo Radley, he didn't do anything to anyone, but they just treated him so horrible, and they made rumors about him. That just sickens me.
Right.
So the next word is tone. There are many tones embedded within the story. Cynical, for example, can be found when the citizens of Macomb are racist, such as the woman that encountered Calpurnia at the church, or the people who found Tom Robinson guilty at the trial. A hopeful tone can be found when Atticus believes that it is his job to save Tom, and when he says that he can save him.
Racism play a big part in this book.
It does, doesn't it? And that's one of the ways it plays in, that it tells us that we need to change our society and make it better. So.
Okay, the next word is style. The writing style of the author in the story. The story is told through Scout, which is she's a young girl, so the writing is informal, and the thoughts and vocabulary are very limited because of this. There's not much to find. What we can find is that Scout is just a child, and she's still learning, and is very naive and innocent. Are there any more questions?
I think that's it. Thank you for tuning in.